Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at another new ship that is coming to the game in the form of the SMS Nassau. Now, unlike the Arkansas and even the good old Marat that we've seen about the place, this one, even though it's a premium, doesn't seem to, at least right now, have a pre-order pack. Instead, what this vehicle has access to is a premium bonus at rank 5, and therefore meaning that it'll be able to grind out all of the rank 5 and also 6 vehicles that they've just brought in very efficiently. It'll be interesting to see if they also add another German ship on top of this, kind of give people a reason to buy it, or maybe what'll happen is people will use it just to kind of grind through the rest of the tech tree and have a bit of fun. The Nassau is a good old Nassau class, which isn't too surprising. We've had a Nassau in the game for a while now, the Westfalen, which you see right here. It's the 1916 variant, whereas the Nassau is actually the 1910 variant of the class, and it is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, vehicles in the game now. It has access to 6 dual-mounted 283mm cannons, and you can see they're set up in this state here, which pretty much means you can't get a full broadside off, which sucks. You're only able to get 4 turrets on at the same time, so this is more like, instead of 6, or 12, sorry, cannons, instead what you're looking at more is 8 at a time. So that's your overall firepower. Then it has the blister guns, the 12 single 150s. You can see them all along here on both sides of the vehicle. Very First World War-y. And then 16 88mm as a tertiary amount. You can see that they're also in blisters too at the front of the machine and also at the back in these little turrets here. So elevation might be a bit of a problem with these things, especially since they're in these little blisters, and you can see the vertical guidance is only 25 degrees, so going after anything which is coming in the air ain't gonna work too well. When you compare this one to the American and also the Soviet option, the firepower is less, and also it has a lot less secondary armaments, which are going to be useful against auxiliary targets, against stuff which is, naval. The 150s will do a great job, but if a plane decides to come in or anything like that, it's just going to kind of nuke it, and there's not going to be a lot to do. The guns do have 3 rounds per minute, meaning that they have a 20-second reload, which is, well, quite nice compared to a lot of the other ones that we've seen, but they don't pack as much of a punch because of their caliber. And also, since this is a very old vehicle, you got the coal bunkers in, giving a bit of protection to the vehicle, and also ammo all over the place, since these turrets all feed off these slightly middle magazines here, and then just some massive magazines under the turret which is sat here. So kind of nuts at the end of the day. Then it also has torpedoes. The torpedoes are in the front of the ship and also the sides. You can see them here. The stationary torpedoes are so funny to see on these vehicles. It even has some like going on the side here as well. Not in the back, so definitely not going to be running away from any enemies. But yeah, the torpedo tubes, they are kind of a nice little added bonus, I suppose, because the torpedoes are pretty bad. So I wouldn't worry about those at all. Looking at the 283mm, they have access to an SAP, which has 17 kilos of explosive mass. They also have quite high penetration, but not crazy amounts. And if you compare that to the Arkansas, for example, which is only a BR bracket above, it has, what, half of the explosive mass of the HE, which kind of sucks. The APC, only 9 kilos of explosive mass, but pretty decent pen, 469mm at most, so should be able to go through most targets, even at range. And that means that stuff like ammo racks and other areas can be targeted by these guns. It does get the improved rangefinder, also some ammo wetting like everything else, to try and keep itself alive. And you can see here the rangefinder, which is absolutely tiny, only has an 85% accuracy rate, and that, well, sucks. You usually want the 100. You know, the 100 is why you play these things and have a decent time. Otherwise, you're not going to be as accurate as you needed. It does have the radio station, of course, the bridge sat here, and if you have a look at the armor, you have 290 millimeters of a belt, then 160 above it, and then the coal bunkers themselves give a hell of a lot of armor. I remember when they added in these coal bunkers to start with, these things were nigh on impenetrable. Slightly different nowadays, but still very good. The turrets themselves have 280 millimeters on the front, the ammo elevator is 283, so that would be quite nice too. And then also the rolled cemented armor of 400 millimeters around the bridge, so that's going to be very hard to take out. The crew is 1,087, so a little bit less than some other machines, and I feel like that's kind of the way that I would kind of talk about this vehicle. It's just slightly less than most of the other machines. It's also the 1910 one. It technically has the wrong flag. Hopefully they fix that, but we'll have to see going forward if that's the case or not. And also for the 150s, you have a HE shell with 1.6 kilo. You have a SAP-BC with 1 kilo, and then also a standard APC-BC with about 1 kilo, but a lot more penetration. So you can penetrate a decent amount of stuff with it, whether it be cruisers, even maybe some battle cruisers in certain areas, but the main guns that are going to be doing the carrying are of course the 283s. So it can't defend itself against air. That sucks. It does have access to the cool skins though, which is, you know, something that is always good. And hopefully people enjoy this thing. It's kind of representative, at least for me, of the German tech tree at the moment. Like, it has some bright areas, especially some of the vehicles they've added recently, but overall I would say it's just a slightly worse version of other tech trees that exist. And because of that, this premium is slightly worse than the other two that they have put into the machine as well. I like the fact that there's boats on top of the turret there. That's kind of funny. And also at the same time, there's a lot of other guns and a lot of other stuff that can move around. The turrets are a little bit quicker than previous ones that we've seen. And also the 150s will hopefully provide a decent amount of firepower compared to other secondaries from other nations. But I don't know how much it is actually going to be overall. The big old guns being only needing 20 seconds to reload makes this a lot more tenable than other machines, especially when some of them have up to 50-second reloads, which is just very, very rough. Whereas at least this, every 20 seconds, that means that you can get off a decent amount of shots in a battle, being able to give yourself a little bit more room to influence the battle instead of just taking on specific vehicles for 5 to 10 minutes at a time, hoping for that ammo rack to detonate them. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Juan the Panda, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Bareen, Peter Grayling, Alan Hacker, Sem Alslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R., and also Lafouche for supporting the channel.